All right. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Real Sales Talk. This is a show for salespeople by real salespeople that carry quotas, that sit in the sales seat, and that close deals. I am one of your co-hosts, Sean Mitchell, and we also have depending on what your screen looks like, Henry Johnson. Talking to Henry J is right there shuffling around. He's in the office at his company. So we also have a special guest, David Villa, out of Florida. How you doing, David?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks, Sean.
Awesome.
What's up, Henry?
How's it going, David?
So we're excited. We're excited to have you on, David. This is a show that I've been looking forward to quite a bit. I've been following you for quite a while, and just like our other two guests prior to you, I met you on social media, which I think is really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to getting into some of the things that you have to share. Tonight's topic is what it takes to become a serial sales pro, and I can't wait. So, Henry, what do we got happening tonight?
Yeah, so first, just wanted to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I know as we continue to go on, we'll probably get more and more people showing up, but there's obviously people going to probably listen to this after the fact. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for spending the time with us. Probably going to be about an hour, and we appreciate you taking that time. Number two, also wanted to talk just about the sales. The social chatter, etc. Right? So, hashtag real sales. Hashtag real sales talk. That's the name of the game here. If you guys are talking about this at all on the social, whether you're on Twitter. Probably Twitter is the main one, right? But use the hashtag Real Sales Talk. Sean and I are both always on Twitter, so would love to engage with people and get to know you better. I'm at Talk to Henry Johnson on Twitter. Sean, right? Sean M. Mitchell. And David, are you IPD male?
I am IPD male.
There we go. There we go. So that's the socials. Love to chat with people. Feel free to reach out to us.
Awesome. I'm going to grab,
cool.
Sean, I'm walking. I'm just going to grab my headphones. So I'm listening.
No problem. So for those that are online now, and at any point you want to jump in and ask a question, add a comment. This is freestyle, free flow here. We've got a very loose format, and we're going to fire some questions at David. And but we want everyone to join in as well. We think the conversation gets better when you all add your comments, your questions, and if you feel brave enough, you can take the hot seat. We've got one more seat left, one more video seat left here. Whenever you want to join, I know Joshua tried to join, or rather Jonathan Dawson tried to join a moment ago, but just wasn't able to. So feel free, and let's get this party started. Henry, I think you got a question to kick this thing off.
Yeah, so the main question here is, David, we wanted to really, kind of get a better idea of yourself, who you are, what you do, and really how you got into sales to start, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, I thank you for, I apologize about walking around, man. That's the beautiful thing about Blab, though. It's just like, it's kind of just in the raw. So, I got involved in sales. I'm 43 years old. Got involved in sales. Actually, sales caused me to quit college, drop out, and start making some money. So I got involved right in the age of 21, and started in retail. Started selling clothes, and that's back when, if you guys remember or not, I know you guys are younger than I am, but they used to have commissioned retail men's clothing stores. I'm talking like, you'd walk by in the mall. I'm not kidding you. You'd walk in the mall, and they would come out of the door and go, hey, come here. You like this shoe? And they'd pull you in. And so I was fascinated by it, and got a job, became the top salesperson, and realized that I wasn't just a pest, my entire life, but I was actually good at sales.
There we go. So fill us in though. So what came after that? Like, love to hear the story of how you got to where you are. Obviously, we'll take deeper dives as we continue to go. But.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I wish I can say that right then. I blinked my eyes and here I am today. But that's for sure not the way it went. you know, I was young, you know, and pretty stupid. I think that my experience with salespeople, man, it's a lot of times, and I'm not going to put us all into the same category, but a lot of times we're not the most detailed or responsible individuals at first. And a lot of that, I think, has to do with our drive. And we're so driven that sometimes we have a lot of holes in the back end. I like to call it like a hole in the bottom of the bag. But man, I tell you what, man, I just caused myself all kinds of problems, to be honest with you. For the first 8 or 9 years, I could sell paint to a wall that just got painted. But you know, I couldn't, I don't know if this is the direction you want to go, but I couldn't pay my bills. You know, I wasn't disciplined. I wasn't focused. You know, I didn't have, you know, I just wasn't prepared. And I would just go out and I'd burn the money. I'd spend the money. I'd lose the money as fast as I made it. And I was making good money to myself back then. But 2000 and rock bottom, just got to the place where, you know, I just felt like quitting for real. And 2004, just really had a kind of a come to Jesus moment with myself. And hit rock bottom. And I said, you know what, man, I got to be serious about this, or I've got to get a shovel and start digging a hole or something. So got really serious about it, started building a company. And then 10 years later, you know, we'll do over $12 million in sales this year, 50 employees, but we have, you know, we have several other products we're getting ready to launch. Probably by next year, we'll be 20, you know, maybe a year and a half, be tracking $20 million. And but I'll tell you what, it took a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, and just really honestly not quitting.
Yeah.
Not quitting.
Yeah. So in 2004, well, let me back up a little bit. I know you've got a wonderful family. You've got some children. You've just got a beautiful family. At what point in 2004 did you have a family? Did you have kids? And how did that impact that current financial situation?
Sure. Yeah, I've been married 23 years. I got married. My wife was 17. That also contributed to my bad decision, my bad decisions. You know, getting married so young and doing things backward. But she was 17. I was 20. You know, we couldn't pay attention, much less bills and rent. But you know, we were in love and had our first kid within the year. We got married. Had our second, my son, 19 months later, and we have a third child. She was born in 2000. We began to start getting our act together at that point. But we married 23 years, and you know, yeah, that's one of the reasons. Honestly, Sean, that's the reason I had that come to Jesus, because you know, I began to look in the mirror and say, you know what, you could be immature and you could be foolish when it's just you, but you got to look at your kids. You know, you're raising 2 girls and a son that are looking at you, and they're going to follow in your footsteps. And so, you know, I'll tell you that was what woke me up, and that and my wife telling me, hey, you need to wake up. That helped.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll do it. Right? That'll help a bit.
Yes.
So how would you define, you know, we're talking about, you know, a serial sales pro. How would you define that? What is your definition of a serial sales pro?
Great question. And I love it. Well, serial, you know, you got to be careful when you Google it, and you know, there's not many good things that come out of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's all. But if the word serial sales pro, honestly, where it came from, my dad was interviewed. My dad just sold his company. My father's he was young too. He also, thank God, my kids aren't doing the same thing. But my dad was 17 when I was born, so he's only 62 years old. Or 61, 62 years old. And he just sold a company a month ago for $21 million. Just checked out. Wow. Now he's getting ready to do something else. But
and your dad's a sales guy too, right? That kind of runs in the family.
Best salesperson I've ever met in my life. And but he's, you know, he's slowed down a little bit. He's got, you know, he's a CEO, and he's really kind of turned those reins over. But anyway, he sold his company. But a few years ago, he was being interviewed by a local news agency here. At his when he goes every morning and goes to the little sandwich shop, Spanish sandwich shop, smokes a cigar and talks to all the people there and blah blah blah. Well, we're interviewing him, and they named the interview Serial Entrepreneur. And that's not what their intention was. They were interviewing entrepreneurs, and he said, "Hey, what do you think makes an entrepreneur?" And he started talking. He goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I'm a serial entrepreneur. I can't help it." He said, "I've started more businesses that have failed than have succeeded." And when I heard that, and I remember seeing that my whole life, and I began to think about the fact that I can't stop selling. I can't stop selling. No matter what the rejection is, no matter what the objection is, no matter what, how many times I'm told no, no matter if my back's against the wall, and just because you make a lot of money, it's just a bigger wall that your back may be against. But because those things exist, have no bearing on whether or not I stop selling, right? Only I can do that. So Serial Sales Pro was something that I think that if you're truly passionate, which you are, I mean, you have a show called Real Sales Talk. I mean, to do this at night, to do this like this, I mean, you're passionate about it. And I think that if anybody's passionate like that, Sean, that there's a serial sales aspect that happens, and they can't stop. And they're going to make it. I think that's probably, you can go to every single training you want, and you can pick up every closing tip that's out there. But if you don't have that aspect of, I'm in this for the long haul, I think I have it.
I love that. And, I didn't always, and I think, once Henry joins, I think he probably lost his connection, but I think Henry would probably echo this very same thing, because that's how we kind of started this show. Mm-hmm. But you have salespeople who do a job, and then you have sales practitioners. And when I think about sales practitioners, I think very similar to what you're talking about, serial sales pros, which is they eat, sleep, and breathe sales. They want to be the best. They want to own it, and they want to dominate it. And they're always looking for ways to add to their skill set and tool belt as a sales practitioner. So it really resonates with me, because I think both Henry and I started this show because not only did we want to kind of open the window to what happens in a sales practitioner's life, but we also wanted to kind of pull in people and find some commonality between other serial sales pros.
Absolutely. I'm just tweeting this out right now, trying to get some more folks to join us.
Yeah, for sure. Henry, are you back on?
I lost it for a minute, so I can't really add a comment to what was just said. I mean, I had some questions just kind of sitting on the sideline, but I don't want to interrupt.
I said Henry seemed like he was pretty strong in sales, so you could probably agree with that, right?
I think so. I'm going for a little sales promotion right now, so little by little, keeping on improving, So actually, I had a question for you. You mentioned, right, that you were doing clothing sales from the beginning, right, where you were pretty much going out, talking to people, like walking past the store, and you were number one sales guy there. I mean, I have to imagine that's pretty tough sales, right? Especially if everybody's kind of bombarding people. Almost reminds me of when you're at a what do they call them, like those conferences where you're at a booth and you kind of just going out trying to grab people, right? I'd love to hear more about that. Like what you learned there. How were you able to be like the most successful sales guy in the room at that time? I know it's a while back. Your first step, but I'd love to hear about it.
That's actually a great question, man. I appreciate that question, because you just got me thinking. And I love this kind of stuff, by the way, because it always gives me more training, more ideas, more thoughts. And just thinking back, you just made me think back to something that I haven't thought about in a long time, that I think is important. I learned an aspect of fearlessness, or overcoming inhibitions that sometimes you don't get in if you just enter into sales that's slightly less or slightly, maybe less of an environment, more of a controlled environment, or just, maybe the inside sales position is just slightly different. You don't necessarily appreciate what goes on there. You said something about someone grabbing you at the, what you said, a mall or a market, but it reminds me,
stuff like that.
At the conference, it reminds me also, and I try to hire them. I mean, I've hired so many people people that work in kiosks that work in the mall. I mean, they drive me nuts. You can't make eye contact with them. You're walking in the mall. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm of all, I'm the easiest sell in the world. I'm a salesperson. And my wife's really tough. Yeah. I mean, I'll buy anything. So I'm like, I get by them and I just look away because I can't tell them no, man. I'm over there smelling cologne. I don't like it. But I'm trying on, but they got me trying on whatever they got. But that's the thing, losing that inhibition. And I learned it there. I didn't want to do it, but walking up to somebody, they walk in, because the number one thing somebody says to you in the retail clothing, you've said this, I've said this, we've all done it. We'll walk into a store and they go, hey, can I help you? And the first thing you do is say, I'm just looking around. And they teach you and the commission sales. I mean, it was hardcore commission. And I would walk in and they would teach you, do not ask them, can I help you? You start walking up to them and engage them in conversation. So it took you out of your comfort zone dramatically. But I tell you what, I use that to this day in everything I do. And I think it's a great way to break down the barriers that we have in sales. I mean, face it, if you're cold calling, I mean, think about it, man. I tell my guys all the time, if you cold call somebody, I mean, I don't care if that person you're cold calling is on their computer, playing like a game of solitaire or they're like, or they're just picking their nose. It doesn't matter. They didn't invite you. To think about the fact that if this blows my mind every time, to think about the fact that I could pick up a phone, ring into someone's office that I've never talked to. They're going to answer it. I'm uninvited. And from the very get-go, you know what I'm talking about, guys. You pick up the phone. You're annoyed by the fact that you don't know them. And you got like a millisecond to do something tremendous. Yep. And all of a sudden, you got to break through that. I mean, that blows my mind every time. And I try to let my guys know how much and how amazing it is.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit, because that's something that I know I encounter on a very regular basis. Having to make outbound calls, cold call people, you're interrupting their day. They probably get that several times a day, at least several times a week. What are you telling your sales team to break past that initial hump or barrier, that initial objection, and get that conversation flowing so that you can really kind of uncover if there's an opportunity or a need to help them?
Mm-hmm. I think that where you start is taking off the sales, the common sales hat, and it is a sales hat, because I think that to be able to do this, you're a serial sales pro, or you're on your way to it to get it down and to master it. But I think that first you have to take off the classic sales hat. I'm trying to get away from that light, and I got them everywhere. But so I think that to take off that classic sales hat, instead of calling up and just jumping in. I tell my guys all the time, everybody, one of the easiest things, or one of the things that we gravitate towards the quickest in sales, is going, thinking everybody doesn't want to talk to you. Based on what I just said, for instance, you're interrupting their day. So we automatically think that everybody is in the same boat. Well, they may not have invited you in, but everybody doesn't have the same personality. So a lot of times we'll jump right into it as salespeople, and we take the battering ram, or I call it the jackhammer approach, where we're just jumping in and we're just going diving, head first, and it takes them by surprise. They don't like it. It doesn't sit well. I think to start off, to just get their defenses down, to get on the phone. Hey, John, hey, listen, I know you get a lot of phone calls, and I'm calling you today. Let me ask you a question, man. Is now a good time? I know people don't like that, but if you could pull it off, I like it. Hey, listen, John, you got 30 seconds, right? Yeah. What's up? I mean, it's just little things to catch them off guard and get them to pause. And, a lot of times if they pick up the phone, and depending on how they answer, if they say something like, hello, as I'll say something like, they have that kind of busyness about them. I say, man, it sounds like you guys must be, you guys must be having a great month. Sounds like you guys are really busy around here. Oh yeah, we're busy, man. What's up? Just kind of taking and breaking the ice a little bit. And I think as salespeople, we want to get through that call so bad that a lot of times we just forget it. A lot of times we just want to jump into it. And I think we shoot ourselves in the foot more often than not.
I gotta agree with you on that. So I know I get some slack for it too. Do you have a minute to talk? Asking people that. And some people say don't do that, just kind of jump into it. I think it works, right? I think it slows them down for a second because people, when they get a call from somebody they don't know, their first thought is like, all right, how can I get off this call as fast as possible, typically, right? But when you ask them, do you have, 2 minutes? It's like, well, I got to give them, they said yes. It's almost like the consistency of it all. Like, I said yes to 2 minutes, I'll give them at least 2, right? And then if you could say something good in that 2 minutes, then you make it another 2, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I agree with that 1,000%. Sean, yep. You were going to say something?
I was, but I think you lost me. I don't remember what it was. Oh, yeah, I do. I do remember what it was. I've used this analogy before, and those that are regulars on the show probably are tired of hearing about this. But I think a lot about, when you're talking with someone, sometimes, well, as a salesperson, you're thinking about getting the sale, you're thinking about getting the appointment, and you forget that you're talking to a real human being. And sometimes it's easy to just go in for the kill, so to speak. And I liken this to like the 16-year-old teenage boy, going in for the French kiss, 2 minutes into conversation with a girl, when really there needs to be a little bit of romancing. And I think that romancing in terms of cold calling or even just prospecting in general, it's relate and connect one-to-one on a human level, and people usually relate back, and they usually like Henry and like David are saying, they give you a chance. They give you 10 seconds or 15 seconds because you're connecting with them and relating with them in a very human way.
Yeah.
And David, to take it, I guess forward and back at the same time, that makes sense. But you mentioned, right, that a big change happened when you had your first child, right? I wanted to kind of go there for a second. What were you selling at that time?
I was selling advertising to. I've been in I've owned this company for 20 years.
Okay.
Just for the first 10 years, it owned me, so I was selling advertising. I was selling to car dealerships. I was going face to face and driving around Florida predominantly, and visiting dealerships, and that's what I was doing. So I've been doing that for 20 years.
Okay. So you mentioned that was a big change. Was it mostly just on the actually spending your money correctly side, or was there an actual change in regards to the way you were selling or the evolution in your sales as well?
It was a change in my mindset, because money won't fix anything unless money won't fix anything if you're not fixed, and so. I just think that it was a change in my mindset. There's a place when salespeople grow up and they realize that they want to really do something in their significant with their life, and when that happens, I don't think that's really an age. I think it's a mentality, and it can happen earlier and earlier. And I tell my guys that all the time. They can come in and can train. They can go through, but if somebody comes in and they have the right let's just say they have the right personality. Let's just say they're that person. Maybe they're waiting tables, or you just meet them and this person would rock. Well, that's just the beginning, right? That's just the potential and just the talent, and just the fact that you're and that's a big deal because that's not in everybody. So when I see somebody like that, right, then I'm gonna gravitate towards them, and I've hired them a lot. Here's the problem with that, though. Let's say they're making $500-600 a week, $1,000 a week. I don't know, whatever, right? That's nothing when you get into a really good sales job. So if you're in a sales job where, let's say, you can make $175,000, $200,000 a year, or whatever that is, or you're uncapped, but you can make some better money, but you don't need to yet. So I think that's a big issue, and I think those are mindsets that sometimes salespeople have to grow up in because they get into a comfort zone. They get their money, they get a big check at once, and then they go 2 weeks without anything else. They blow their money because they're idealistic and they think, I did it this week, I'm going to do it again next week. But they prospect, they didn't have any kind of process. Their pipeline was empty. It's just so many things that they don't know about because they're all jacked up. And I think that we rely on talent. I would look at it and go, you know what, I could fix it. I could fix it in one day because I can go out and talk my way out of it. And I did that, but I never grew. And I think when your mindset changes and you're tired of just making it, you're tired of the ends not meeting, right? Like just almost trying to make them meet. You're just like, you know what? I'm either going to go do something else or I'm going to get serious about it. And that's what I did. I got serious about it.
Right. I've heard people tell me that, right? That the kid, I don't have any children, but that they had their first child, and it was just a complete another level, right? Because you're now kind of thinking about not just yourself, right? You're feeding another person. You kind of got to take care of it. So yeah, I appreciate you kind of telling that story. I was interested to hear it.
What are some of those things, David, that you did to kind of align yourself? You're making good money, and you no longer want to blow it and just spend it, assuming that it's going to be there next week or next month, and you're going to get a fat commission check. What are some of those things that you did to align yourself so that you were a little bit more financially healthy or stable?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think. I think that a part of getting your mindset right is, I mean, this is a big one. I mean, not everybody, sees the value in this. But I think that starting to pay your bills on time, starting to get things in order in that respect, I think it's a big deal. And making those things again a priority. But you're talking about from the money standpoint, Sean, or are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, were there some things that you decided to do differently once you realized that you weren't managing your finances wisely? You were going and you're blowing it, or you were spending it on things, assuming that, the next paycheck was going to be fat and it was going to come and you could talk your way into more sales. Did you realign yourself or make some conscious decisions to do things differently?
Yeah, I did. I had 2 stints with the business that I'm in now. Actually, I had for the first 7 or 8 years of the business, I had another business partner as well, and we kind of paid ourselves and didn't do things, everything right. We had we had vendor terms, and did a lot of just things that caused us to just have our priorities out of whack. And so, because our home's out of whack. I mean, his home and his family was run that way. Mine was kind of run that way. We were sales, we were driven, but we weren't good. We really almost went out of business. We got to a place where we just hit rock bottom. I mean, and so we kind of did for a while. I went to work. We had the business open, and I went to work for my father for and I was a good salesperson. Where I really learned, this is something I guess I should mention, Henry, because this is a pivotal time. I went to work for my father, and he put me on a sweet, compensation plan. Back then I was making, I don't know, about $20,000 a month or something. He put me on this pretty sweet little deal back then. For me, it was 1999, 2000. And he said, I want you to run my outside and inside team and build it for me. So I went to work for him. It was therapeutic. I got to do my job, and I got to see a company run the right way. And we just started to focus right. Well, long story short, he sold a couple of companies. He sold that company, and my wife and I went to my then brother-in-law, and that was going to be my business partner. We went back and we went to start again. He actually was my brother-in-law. And so we said, look, let's do this. If we're going to do it, though, we're going to do it right. And we just really lined some things up, made some priorities. My first paycheck, I went from making $20,000 a month, and then, and plus some commissions. My first paycheck when I started the business was $0. My second paycheck was about $100. So I mean, there were disciplines we put in place because we made some non-negotiable core value principle decisions that we weren't going to, come hell high water, this is what we're going to do. And we built it. We went from $1 million, our first year, or about $600,000 our first year. We really were back together in 2004 to $1 million, to about 2.4 to 3.7 to 5.5, and just grew and grew and grew. And that's the rest is history. And then started to multiply that. Yeah. And today we're debt free. Our company's debt free. We're a cash company. So we're in a better place today because of it.
So I'd like to take a dive into that, and it's largely selfish, right? Because I'm in a similar. Not currently, right? But my father owns his own business. He's looking for me to help out with like sales and marketing, and I do on the side, right? But I wanted to hear a little more of your thoughts on working in family-owned businesses, but also your father's a sales guy, right? And you are too, and that's kind of similar relationship. My father and I were both salespeople. How did you guys structure that as you came in? And Startup days is a bit selfish, but I think can help some other people when they kind of start thinking about, family-owned businesses and also, growing up businesses as well. So.
Yeah. Well, my dad and I can't work together. I'm a bad example. We ended up we're really close. I mean now, and we are extremely close when it comes to business. And he's a mentor to me, and I've actually mentored him. I mean, he's changed a lot after seeing the atmosphere and what we've done in our company, and in the last few years prior to selling his latest company. But I'll tell you this, I guess, because I actually got two experiences of that. My dad and I couldn't work together because I was always an entrepreneur, so was he. I wanted to do things my way. We ended up butting heads. We ended up getting into almost a fist fight, to be honest with you. And but it was good. It was healthy. It was needed. A little father and son bonding. And so I ended up kind of breaking away and going back and doing my own thing in 2004. But here's what's ironic about it. It was with my then brother-in-law and my wife. My wife was the CFO. It was me and him. He was the back-end person. I was a sales person, and she was the accounting person. And so we've had a family business, and we do. Out of the 50 employees, I'd say probably 5 or 6 are family, and they're in some key positions. I think that it's difficult and challenging, and I will do everything in my power to not bring on more family. Unless they're my kids or people that come up in the business and they own part of it. But I tell you what, there's a way to do it. There's a challenge, man. And sometimes you need to recognize that you either can work with your parents. I also think it's a leadership thing. My dad wasn't, he's better now. My dad really was a good salesperson and became a better leader later in life. And I'm a real student of leadership. So I think it's a leadership thing. I think that the way to do it is you have to build it with the leadership in mind. You have to build it with legacy in mind. You have to build it with, I realize my kids, my son-in-law is my marketing director. And I see he's one of the part of the future of our company. He's 24. And I let him do it his way. I don't try to micromanage what he does. So hopefully that helped a little bit, but it's challenging, man. Sometimes you got to walk away from stuff like that. It's very difficult.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting thing to hear. I'm literally talking to my dad about it now. Not that I'm leaving my current company at this moment, but eventually I would want to help him grow that, potentially, right? I mean, there's definitely thought in both of our minds. So good to hear about yours. Sean, did you have anything else that you look like you may want to ask?
Yeah, I was just going to transition. I know, David, you've got a sales team of, how large is your sales team now? 10, 15 people?
13 salespeople and 2 managers.
Yep. So what do you look for when you're looking to add to that sales team? What are some qualities that you look for in a serial sales pro? When you add to that team, are they the tangibles? Are they the intangibles? What is it?
Well, I got it wrong for a long time. And I was looking, I would look for people that I thought were like me that I could relate to. I realized some of my best salespeople aren't like me in personality. So I stopped looking at personality, although I'm still attracted to, and just like I'm sure you guys are. I mean, when you find somebody, it's easy to spot them by personality. But, and I also don't look much at resumes. I've some of the most successful people I look at resumes, like anyone else does, but I don't put a lot of merit on it. And the reason is, number one, anybody could put a resume together. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's called a lion. But number two, I want to interview them, and I want under pressure, and I don't want to ask them a lot of the goofy questions that that I was asking back in the day in interviewing, or that you see in the classic interview. I think putting them in scenarios, and just in having them talk about themselves, having them talk about, the products they sold, and, giving them an example. We just hired 5 people, 5 people in the last couple of months, and 4 people in the last couple of months. And when we interviewed probably 25 or 30 people, and I was in most of those. And I put them on the spot. Mike, we had a 3-panel interview. We had 3 people in there. And when it came to my time, mine was always the same. I said, look, I want you to tell me. I said, you sold this product here. I said, I'm that customer. I said, go. I want to hear what you were saying. I mean, you sold this. And I mean, if you can't pitch the product that you sold for 2 years, I don't care why you're not there. Then, you know, then you know, what good are you? So I think that's something we look at. We also put them right into, we do training a little different. It took us a while to figure out how to do, I don't mean ongoing training or serial sales pro training. I mean, initial training. You know, is it classrooms? Is it on the floor? Is it, you know, what do we do? What mixture, you know, what have you? How soon do we put them on the phone? Well, one of the things we do a lot is throw them right out into the floor and let them listen, and have the guys that day say, if there ever were going to be a day that you are going to light it up, today's going to be that day. And I want them listening to you. And we actually had one person we hired, didn't come back the next day, you know, and that's what I want. That's what I want. That's the best way I want them scared to death. Or fired up, man. I want them to come back. If they come back the next day after seeing what our guys have to go through, then hey, man, that's a big step to me.
What was it that scared them off? I'm really curious. What
his email was his email. He's very polished guy. His email. Yeah. I mean, he did email, but his email said, "Hey, I appreciate the opportunity. I love meeting you guys. It was just a pleasure." And that kind of pleasantries. And he said, after spending the day, first day, by the way, after spending the day in the sales room, great atmosphere, love it. But after seeing what they did and what I would be required to do, I can't do it. So, you know, and I'm like, you're right. You know, I'm thinking in my head, you're right. If you can't do it if you think you can't do it. So
respect is honesty, I guess, right?
Oh yeah, and I respect, and we pay a base. You know, we have a base plus commission at our company. I respect not only that, I respect the fact that he didn't take any money, you know, and sit there and try to you know, fake it. You know, look, he's serious about it, going somewhere and getting into a career, and this wasn't for him. But I think that putting him in that environment, and even if they don't quit, we had a couple of people come back and then they role play. We role play them right into the floor. They're sitting there in the floor while the other guys are making calls. One of my managers is on the phone with them in that same atmosphere, role playing with them live. Mm-hmm. So there's an intimidation factor. I want that. I want it because these are not accounting people. These are not accountants. These aren't call center reps. These aren't CSRs. These aren't production managers. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own challenges. These are salespeople. And, you know, if you can't handle being uncomfortable in that kind of environment and really, you know, being ultimately uncomfortable, how are you going to handle, you know, the live call when you get on the phone with somebody and they just lay the hammer on you, you know? And that's some of the things.
Where is that litmus test for those people? I mean, where do most people find that it gets really hard? Is it the cold calling? Is it the role playing? What are those things that you find? The person that never came back, what was it that chased him off?
Yeah. Well, in our sales, it's a little different. We, I think than some sales, our sales, inside sales has somewhat of a boiler room aspect to it. I hate to use that term because whenever someone sees it on social media, especially on SalesFlix, things like that. Yeah. There's a show on SalesFlix called Boiler Room. It's one of there's about 10 shows. It's one of the shows that we've got, I think, 3 seasons up now. And it's for the purpose of that. They're you know, the episodes aren't very long, but that's not what we do all day. You know, our guys, I mean, my top sales guy wakes up on the first of the month and he's already made $15,000. I mean, the first day of the month, he doesn't have to do a thing because he's got retained clients that he does business with that he doesn't have to talk to but once a month. And so you don't show that because that would be called boring room, you know? So I don't want to show that. So people don't see that. So there's that element as well. But I think that's one aspect of it. I think that the intimidation for him was that he's new. So he's going to have to be cold calling. He's going to have to be doing that. And I think there was an intimidating factor there. But I'll tell you, one of the biggest things, the biggest challenges is that's one challenge, getting somebody that can do that. But I think a challenge at the same time is much of a challenge is when somebody who hasn't made it, they've made it enough to make enough money to pay their bills and make more money than they were making, but they're not where you want them to be. They're not where they need to be. And yet, so they're kind of comfortable or they're not as pressured as they were. And because others in the room that are doing 3 times the amount of business, or maybe have a certain pattern of work or process, they think they can emulate that. And I think that's one of the challenges our sales managers have to deal with on a constant basis. So for instance, you have somebody who will make as many calls as the top guy in the room when they're not the top guy in the room, or they're not as good as, like for instance, if Evan Longoria, or whatever baseball player, you like, it gets up the bat, the Rays, he hits more home runs than I do. He can get up 10 times. I can get up 10 times. He's going to hit it way more than I do. Well, so I need to get up 50 times.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, too, as far as litmus test, you said.
Yeah.
Are they willing to do what it takes? Are they willing to go the extra mile?
How much of it is natural skill, and how much of it is ambition and drive? When you're in that position where someone is doing 3-4 times that, and you want to get there, is it skill? Is it ambition? Is it a mixture of both?
In the beginning, skill. I think I don't believe, like some people say, and I understand why they say it. Well-known trainers and individuals that, by the way, cater to their merchandise to everybody. So of course they're going to say that. They cater to everyone. So that, I don't think everyone is a salesperson. My CPA, I have 5 people in accounting. My CPA couldn't sell anything. Okay. And that's not his personality. And so I think that there is some element of talent in the beginning. So 100%. Now, I think if somebody has that, we don't get it right all the time, but we try through trial and error and through some of the things I mentioned to hire the right people in the first place. We try so hard these days. We turn down people if it's not a consensus sometimes, unless one of us really fights for them. If I like somebody, it's kind of like American Idol or something. No, 2 people say no, we pass on it, even if one of us think they can do it. So we try to hire the right people, but talent in the beginning. But here's my opinion after talent. I think it's 100% ambition, 50% ambition, and then 50% your willingness to go back what I said before and make that decision / get it, get it. How quick can you get it and understand what it is that you need to do and really put a serious goal in front of you. What I mean, and then the ambition to fuel that. And what I mean by that is the guy that's the number 1 salesperson right now, I can't say that he's more talented as a human being, because when I hired him, he wasn't even close to as talented as he is now, or as successful as
he is. He's evolved over time.
Oh, he's evolved. He's evolved like crazy. So I think if you have the raw talent and you have the raw potential, I think it's necessary. Then if you mix that with ambition and the willingness to learn and educate yourself, take constructive criticism, change, adapt, stop doing what you suck at, and when people say that, because everybody comes with these things over and over again, and get out of those bad habits, I think that will develop into, if you allow it to, into a great salesperson that could be phenomenal, and they're going to get better and better. And then when they start experiencing true success, a little bit of a swag comes in a little bit, which is good. A little bit of, I know I'm good comes in, a little bit of that comes in. Before you know it, they're calling themselves a good salesperson, and guess what? They are. Yeah. I think that those come like.
Yeah, I think you truly do. I think it is important to have a little bit of humility and a little bit of confidence in those 2 things mixed together with the ambition and the natural talent. I think make really impressive salespeople. Now you do a really exceptional job, David, at training and mentoring. Yes, I see this, occasionally I'll jump on your Periscopes where you actually every Monday morning you Periscope your sales meeting, your Monday morning sales meeting, and you're talking about topics that are relevant to your sales team, addressing issues and how they can get to the place that they want to be. Talk about some of those things that you do to develop your sales team.
Sure. Well, we started about a year ago. Within the last year, we started. First of all, Mondays we have a Monday morning meeting, and 9:30 every Monday. And our sales guys are in before then, so they get in sometimes and do some of the preliminary, kind of house cleaning issues and flashy sales, and and marking down demos and kind of recapping the week. All of that's between them sales managers. 9:30 we have a roughly 30 to 40 minute training. I'll try to keep it around a half hour or so. And we come in, and it's typically sales building, sales training. And that's what we do on Monday morning. And then on Tuesday through Friday, our sales guys train 20 minutes every morning before they hit the phones, through our online training system. So they jump on, they log on, they know it. I mean, the first thing they do, boom, right on. They sit down, put their headphones in, and train for 20 minutes. And we actually have an accountability system where they have to take notes, and on the training, book a quiz on it, and actually email it at the end of the training to multiple people, and it gets trapped into into a system and stuff. And we look at it, and of course, we're not grading. We're not looking at the answers.
Is this your training material that you've created yourself? Cool.
Yeah, they go through it. We do allow other training and it's vetted and so forth as well. But yeah, they primarily are on our training because we're very specific on how we do things. But our guys are constantly getting trained. They don't do over 20 minutes. They don't do under 20 minutes. I think that's kind of a good threshold. It's fresh in the morning. It's when and that's that. And then other than that, I mean, we have constantly throughout the day. It could be once a day, it could be twice a day, what have you. We're gonna because we're monitoring the calls. We're out there, and we'll hear a situation. And typically, my style. First of all, there's coaching. I believe there's three steps to it. I believe there's training. I believe training kind of helps point the direction. Then I believe there's coaching, and coaching, I think, or training, I guess, would say that's where we're going. Kind of charts the course. Coaching kind of points the direction, and that's more one-on-one. My vice president of sales, Chris, is a phenomenal coach. That's his gift. He's a coach. And so he'll take them in one by one. He'll do it 10 times a day if he has to. He'll pull them into a room, spend a couple minutes, and just coach them, literally coach them up, put them back on and say, okay, now try it again. And so that happens. And then monitoring is one of the tools that we use ongoing so that we know it's not enough for me to know what they're saying, what they say they're saying. Because if my guys are smart enough, if I say, hey, what did you say here? They're going to tell me what I want to hear. And I want to know what they are saying. And so we monitor those calls. And then, of course, we're coaching all through the day. And then we have impromptu, based on a live situation that someone goes through right on the floor. We'll stop everybody. Hey, guys, get off the phone for a minute. And we'll do a 10-minute right on the floor kind of deal based on that situation. We find typically that those are very invaluable because those are typically something that more people are going through than just that person. And because it just happened, a lot of times it doesn't get covered in standard or traditional training because, it just kind of flies under the radar sometimes.
Can you take a deeper dive into that? Like either, something that's recently happened that you guys did an impromptu stop and like let's talk about this, or, what some of maybe one of your morning trainings is covering. I mean, I'd love to get a more detailed idea of what's going on.
Sure. Well, I mean, impromptu meetings for me, if I'm doing them, are centered always around the calls or centered around what they're saying. They're typically centered around somebody. A lot of times they're centered around the fact that they get a decision maker on the phone. They keep them on for 3 or 4 minutes, going kind of the intro kind of deal. They're debating or they're going back and forth on why I can't look at your program or why everyone tells me they have this product and you trying to convince them. So there's an engagement there. And then typically something that they don't say, which, obviously perfection is not required, but it's something they don't say or something they say they shouldn't have said, or it's typically something they haven't heard. They're not listening. So I try a lot of times to use those. So they're off the phone and they'll say, oh, I say, what happened? And they'll say, well, they didn't want to, they didn't want to do it or, whatever. So I'll stop and I'll say, okay, here's what I heard. And I'll use an example and I'll say, look, you didn't listen. And because a lot of times if we just listen and we're not trying to just batter and push through, then we could actually hear the objection and really break down that barrier. And a lot of times it's based on that, or it's based on, getting a decision maker on the phone and not being able to, again, what we kind of talked about earlier, where somebody is not maybe discussing case studies. I'm a big case study person. So, I know you guys have heard the facts tell, stories sell. And I'm a big believer in that, everyone can call up and say our program, rocks it. Okay. That doesn't mean anything. Our program is great. That doesn't mean anything, but not everyone, has a case study. And I think that if you're dealing in an industry where they are, like the customer you're selling, in our case is dealerships, they are, they can relate to another dealer. So if I have a dealership that has done something, then I can call up and say, go over that case study. And a lot of times, the old adage, the old feel, felt, found, that whole concept of empathy, that makes that work, understand how you feel. Others have felt the same way, and they found that whole concept that you can't say those words because they recognize it, but that whole concept of empathy comes out in the case study, because a lot of times you're going over how they may feel, you're understanding it, and you're relating it to someone else. And I think that's a huge point. So I'll stop a lot of times and go over that as well.
Yeah, that's a great one. Feel, felt, found. That's I learned that my first sales job, where we had a sales trainer there, and yes, it's amazing just kind of being able to, and kind of going off what you're saying with we were kind of making it up a lot of times because we didn't know, we were new guys, right? They kind of told us, and it was my first time on the phone. We're just like, I'm just trying to get this guy to answer, But now that I've been doing this for longer and I've sold, the product a bunch of times, being able to take those actual cases of people I've spoken to and then being able to kind of go through that process, it's bar none. So, great advice. I have to say so myself.
I don't recommend saying feel, felt, found.
Yeah. But the idea.
I understand how you feel. Others have felt the same.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got a little less than 10 minutes left. I'm really curious to know about this new venture that you've started over the last month or two. It's a reality TV show based on your sales team called Sales Flicks. And so when I first heard about this, I was like, this I've never seen anything like this before. So you've got to talk about this because I'm really, really curious.
Thank you. Super passionate about it. Just FYI, our company's broken up into IPD. It's marketing, which we've done for years. We have several marketing products. It's IPD marketing, IPD media, and IPD training. And so, as the CEO of the company, I'm able to kind of focus on some of these other areas in the last couple of years. And this is one of them. And this is something that we launched. I'm pumped. It's actually not just a reality TV show. It's actually reality TV. For lack of a better term, network, but it's multiple shows. I think we're up to 10 shows. We already have 3 additional shows in the hopper that we've already started filming on. Boiler Room. Boiler Room is complete high intensity footage. Our camera crew is literally running around in the middle of our sales guys, catching live. Editing.
That is amazing.
Oh yeah, the editing is done. It's live phone calls. They're filming multiple times a week. And they're basically editing them together. Obviously, so there's no break in between. It's entertaining. You're going to see fights. You're going to see deals, not fights, but deals close. And it's crazy. Those impromptu meetings, Henry, I told you about, those happen on the boiler room all the time. There's one on every couple of episodes. We're doing that, and it's all live, so that's caught. You hear this? Everybody's mic'd up. Then we have the Monday morning meetings. What we do with the Monday morning meetings that you guys watch, we actually have the actual real cameras in with multiple angles, and we actually edit those and place those in for Monday morning meeting. I think there's like 100 in there right now, and so Monday morning meeting is there's 5 seasons I think in there. We have this is a really cool one. We have Game Changers, and Game Changers is I'd like to interview you guys. I've already interviewed about 12 people. There's I think 12 or 13 episodes in. I've interviewed Grant Cardone, Tom Hopkins, Jeff Shore. Just tons and tons of sales people. My father, and but here's the cool part about it. It's not just an interview. It's me and it's a fly on the wall on a live phone call between myself and them. So it's Game Changers, and that's the style of it. So the camera is a fly on the wall, and I'm in my office on my headset. They're on a call live. You're listening to the actual call, and it's recorded through our phone system. So it's kind of an interesting twist on it. My goal was to be in on a conversation, and the interview is not like what we're doing. It's actually a conversation, and they know going into it. We're going to have a conversation, and everybody's going to get the chance to listen to it. And so that's cool. We got about 12 interviews in there. So far, we have a ton to add in.
Where can we find those? Where can we find those interviews too? I'd love to hear. I'm a big fan of podcasts and things like that. So curious.
Sure. These are all in Sales Flicks. Sales is sales sales-flicks.com. And also, there's 2 more shows in there. Well, there's 2 more I'll tell you about really quick. Well, first of all, there's sales rants. Sales rants are my sales guys. They get to walk into the studio basically and go and let the frustration out, let a rant out. There's Confessions of a Serial Sales Pro. That's the show where a sales team can, myself included, open up. Did everyone quit? How do I handle rejection? And these are like Confessions of a Serial Sales Pro. The setting and lighting is appropriate. These are 2 I want to tell you about really quick. I think you're like Jury Duty. Jury Duty is facing your peers. That shows in there, and that shows in there. And what about? It's our sales guys competing. It's the only interactive show, so it's going to include hashtags, and people are going to get a chance to vote. TOs, who does the best TO? Who does the best open? Who does the best pitch? And then last but not least, you're going to love this one. It's called Green Peas. And Green Peas, we started it. And with our last hiring crew, our last interviewing crew. So we had everybody came in for an interview, sign release. We filmed them, interviewed them. We started them on their first day of training. It is a day in the life of a Green Pea, and it's them through training. It's them through their first time on the phone, their first time listening. It's them when the guy quit, that kind of thing. So,
yeah, you're an awesome guy, Dave. That's very interesting. I look forward to checking some of that stuff out. I actually just pulled up the Boiler Room trailer on YouTube. So
I think, I've been following this a little bit, and I think it's just a really creative idea. I think it provides value. I think it's a really interesting perspective. And you're also learning. You're learning at the same time. And so it's entertainment / self-improvement / personal growth, right. And all for the cup of like 3 or 4 cups of coffee at Starbucks. I mean, it's if you implement one of those things that you see in the show, you paid for one of those seasons for sure.
Absolutely. And I'll do this, man, to your show. We got the hats in to anybody that watches or anybody that sees this, reference the Real Sales Talk. And we'll give them a hat. There's Serial Sales Pro hats,
Awesome.
Kind of cool hats, but we'll throw one of those in for anybody who signs up for the show. I mean, the hats are, so anyway.
That's awesome.
We're having a blast with it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, we want to thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for taking time out of your family and your evening to join and just share with us. This has been, I probably say this every episode, but it seems like every episode it keeps topping the other ones. But this is definitely one of my favorites, David. I really got a lot from you and wanting to ask you some questions. And so this is the perfect opportunity to just kind of ask away. So I've learned a lot from you.
Yeah, Henry and Sean, I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you very much for the invite, and look forward to repaying the favor and having you guys on my show sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime. Let us know.
Thanks, David. Yeah, let us know.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.